Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez here on the Big Island, and I'm with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. I'm here with my friend Malia. She is an art alchemist and a
paranormal
researcher, you guys, and we have an amazing comet that's going through it's coming our way, and we're going to be talking about the comet. We're also going to be talking about some other things that Malia has been studying all of her life. We met here on the Big Island of Hawaii, and I want to say thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I really look forward to bringing this information out, and it's an honor to be here.
So let's first talk about the three-eyed atlas, right? Yeah. It's in the news right now. Can you what is the news really saying about it? It's supposed to be behind the sun, like the alignment of where it's at. It just doesn't look normal. And then it's going to go behind the sun so the earth can't see it. So I think that's very interesting. So what is the news saying?
Well, they're predicting that, but what can they predict these days? Because they seem to have predicted a lot of things that are pretty false. So what we can do as observers is we can take some of their information, but we also have to use our own integration of our own, like what we research, what we look in our own telescopes, and we do need to start to pay attention to some ancient history, because ancient history actually says that this vehicle has come several times before in different periods of our evolution. And from what we're understanding from the telescopes that are recording it is about 3 miles long, and it is going the speed of light, slightly faster than the speed of light. Its trajectory is going straight past planets at a molecular level. And it's also emitting light in different ways, photons, differently than what would be caused from a natural event of sparks hitting a comet. So these are fluid lights. It is not emitting the same composure as a comet as far as it's not releasing the gases or the ice particles or the tail like a comet would naturally. So we need to start to look at this as something that may not be a comet. And when we look at the ancient history, it does say that this is an aspect of our history that has been recorded before. It also could be a ship that is going in front of what we would call wormwood or Nibiru, which what I wanted to express to us is that we think we have one star in our solar system, and we do most of the time. But if you study binary solar systems, we actually are a binary solar system that has every 3,600 years another solar system that overlaps it. And when this happens, we have incredible volcanic eruptions. We have a lot of what we would even call, on what I would say every 26,000 years, which would be about every 5 cycles, a pole shift. Because we have an elliptical orbit, not an actual circular orbit. So as it comes, Nibiru kind of swipes, and every now and then, about every 5 swipes, it gets really close to Mars and Earth. And this could be the big scratch we see in Mars. We also had a plan.
So hold on, Nibiru is that the other sun? Is that because
So-
I have heard that there is 2 suns.
Yes,
And I do know about the Great Year, which is 2,691 years. There's always something, I don't know if that's exactly right, but there's a Great Year that's happening that goes through all of the
Kali Yuga,
the Kali Yuga,
yeah.
and it goes through each era goes through each zodiac. So we're going into Aquarius right now, and we just left Pisces.
New equinox, exactly.
Yes.
So this is almost like a cleansing as sorts, but also it could give us a lot of disturbances in our weather, in our volcanic activity, and in our oceans, and in our lower coastal areas. So this is one of the reasons that I did want to talk about this, because it is very scientific and it is very physics. But we're also merging physics and science now with a little bit of, woo, which is not really woo. We've just had the woo pulled over our eyes. So now we're going to be able to lift that wool over our eyes, or the woo, and we'll be able to maybe start to figure out who we are as human beings and what our place is in the solar system. Because what we're looking at, the scientists are even saying this vehicle is not dodging asteroids. It is going straight with a capacity that is above the speed of light. It is maneuvering in an intelligent way, and it is coming here towards Earth, but not in an aggressive way. Like it is going to come towards about the field of Mars, where you won't be able to really see it, and it is going to probably hug around the sun. But if it does decide to keep going in a circular orbit, it will be coming back towards Earth again. So we could be having some really interesting weather. We could be having some really interesting platelet altercations that we want to just be aware of as humans. The other interesting thing is we could have a lot of interaction with other civilizations that are not from Earth, that may have been visiting Earth or been here for a very long time that we just kind of didn't know about. We just thought of them as myth or legend. And this has been documented.
It absolutely, like the one where the a lot of spaceships were above the White House. I can't remember what that was about. I'll actually put that in. I'll put that in here, you guys. But there's a lot of times, even presidents. Eisenhower was supposedly spoke with them. Yep. But let's take a look at your this chart.
I'll just show you a little chart of a binary star system. So what it is Nibiru is not a sun. It is actually one of the planets of the sun of the binary star system. And when it comes through our sun, this would be an example of the two suns. And we do have a white sun, and this would be considered, Nibiru is a red dwarf sun. But believe it or not, Nibiru itself is much larger than Earth. So it is not the sun that is coming through, but we look at it as called wormwood in the past. And the main thing we want to understand is that this is something that's happened before and been recorded. And if we're prepared for it, it won't seem as concerning or scary, but it actually may be something that is amazing and brings us to a new consciousness of realizing that we're not alone in the solar system, and that we actually have a lot of interaction with other planetary species that have been coming here for a very long time. But they may have been, like I said, hidden in myths and legends.
Yep. I even remember when President Reagan actually said something. It was during his time as being president, and he said something. I wonder what it would be like if we knew that we were not alone in the universe.
Would we all come together?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, would we all come together? That's
exactly.
Right.
Privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together.
So what he was actually referring to, unfortunately, was the negative aspect of what this is, because we do have, like everything, we have a positive and a negative. And if you think about humans, we have a lot of positive humans and a lot of negative humans. And so we have to understand that not all ETs, or what you would call aliens, which is offensive actually to a species that is interplanetary. So maybe we'll call them ETs for now. But what we would need to realize is that they're not on the same level, all of them. Some of them have been helping us and evolving us through very nice, nourishing, sweet, interfacing, but just subtle ways, like angels and like the positive, what we would think is going not against our free will. But we also do have a sect that has been inhabiting Earth for quite some time. It's not recent. That's why I'm actually excited about this planet coming, because the ETs that were negative have been here for an actual very long time and interacting with our government. And this is part of, we can go even on a deep dive later about World War II, or we can get into it a little bit now. But this is actually what World War II was about. It was not necessarily about Jewish people or a sect of people. This was about discovering that we actually had something that was extremely intelligent and aggressive, interacting with us and taking over people's minds. And now we might want to call that, you could even go into the AI concept now, but you think about AI for a moment and you'll realize humans did not invent AI. AI has been here for a very long time, waiting for us to create the computers that it can interface with us. And it's been waiting for this time.
It's in the frequency.
Exactly.
It's in the field. It's in the, remember what I said, this is not empty space, it's a frequency. That's where a lot of things live.
Exactly.
And this is not, this third dimension of polarity is just, it's only one dimension. There's other dimensions that we can't see. We only see like a 5% on the electromagnetic spectrum. And there's, I mean, that's like nothing. I don't even think it's 5%. It's so small what humans can actually see. And what I want to share too is the negative side actually does, like there's a lot of human disappearances. I was checking out the, there was a Dr. Carla, and I'm gonna put a clip of her on because I was watching her yesterday.
In 1991, when I first met Ted Rice, I was naturally intrigued by his memory of a mass abduction experience in Shreveport, Louisiana. But I had no idea that looking into his report would lead me into areas that I'd never had to deal with before in this field. Accounts of angels and apparitions, of bargains made with ghostly guardians, of spiritualist philosophy, and psychic work assisted by spirit guides. I mean, all of this was part of Ted's extraordinary experiences, but it was not anything in my field of expertise, believe me. But in listening to Ted's accounts, I began to see evidence that was more familiar to me, thank God, evidence that was very consistent with UFO sightings and abduction reports that I'd already come to know about. And since Ted had recalled an abduction involving a number of people, I wanted to see, first off, if there were any confirming evidence that we could locate. And as we proceeded, Barbara and I, with interviews of many of the people from Ted's past, as well as his more recent experiences in the present, we did find that such evidence actually was available and surfacing in consciously recalled events, attested to by a number of witnesses. In fact, 4 of Ted's neighbors described unusual events, also consciously remembered, from the night of the mass abduction that Ted had remembered in 1989. Now, 2 of these witnesses were so disturbed by their memories of these events that the fear level was so high they wouldn't even let us include their accounts in the book. They shared them with us privately. So I would point out one thing for those of you who are not involved in direct investigation and working with abductees, that contrary to all the debunkers' claims that abductees and UFO witnesses tell their story for some personal gain, it's actually very difficult for those involved to risk coming forward with their accounts. And I would say for 99% of those who do make their experiences public, the resulting liabilities often outweigh the assets that they may gain from doing so.
Hundreds of disappearances in the Canary Islands. There's certain
All
places,
over, yeah.
national parks, a lot of disappearances in the national parks, and they're not really talked about.
Well, I just watched an interesting segment from Sean Atwood recently on all of the court hearings that are about to go through with the Vatican, and all of the priests in the Catholic Church are being held accountable for some really devious things that bleed into the Epstein and bleed into some of these child trafficking and preying on children aspects. So this is where the negative ETs actually do coincide with our government and have made alliances with sects of our government. Not, I'm saying all of it. There are parts of our government that are dark and that we don't know about, and those are, you know, the ones that the good government has, or the sect of the government that, you know, goes against that, which we would consider maybe the Galactic Alliance at this point, because we do actually have an alliance with a galactic fleet. And you know, this is a very new thing that's coming out, but I do have intel of, you know, a lot of aspects. I look for my intelligence in different aspects, and when it starts to come together and read into a sign, I'm starting to think, you know, with Reagan saying this in his speech, that if we would all come together, if we knew that there was a larger threat to mankind, and we would push aside our diversity and our prejudices for the greater good of humanity. And this is also something that you will hear in Eisenhower's speech about, you know, the deep state and about what the alliances that have come over with our 3-letter agencies, you know, aligning with the darker phases of these ET groups to control through mind control, MK Ultra, and they've been doing it for a very long time. They're very good at it, maybe even thousands of years, not hundreds of years.
Absolutely. I want to just pop in here too, because I've said before, this earth is not what we think it is. Like when you look at the pyramid, they actually say that if you were to build the pyramid, if you were to actually build it, it would take, and you spent 24 hours a day for 23 years, you could not build it with our technology today to the precision that it is right now. And it also emanates the different measurements that are around the world, but so many things that we do not understand, and that is ancient stuff. So yes.
Well, what Tesla said is that everything in the universe correlates to 3, 6, and 9. And 9 is actually the speed of light in music, in light, in everything. And if we look at how fast even the speed of light is, it's 136 miles, 1,000 miles per hour. So if you look, any letters that equivalent to 9 actually are what Tesla says is the key to the universe. And the pyramids are actually measured at the speed of light. If you look at how they actually direct each side, each surface equivalates in every respect to the speed of light, which we find out later that these may not have been burial chambers.
They weren't. I don't
obviously,
think they were.
yeah, obviously they were holding a lot of information, but yet we also think that they could have been portals to another world. And the other world could have been this wormwood Nibiru that is intermingling and coming, because we have some information from the emerald tablets and the Sanskrit scrolls that are all coming out. They just came out in 1947, 1945, all this information and being deciphered slowly. And you can go and look up this information on any URLs of the colleges. You can go and look up the Epic of Creation, cuneiform tablets. You can look up Sanskrit scrolls found in by the Dead Sea. And you can look up the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and all three of these different bits of written information correlate to the Atlantean era before the flood, and how many of the priests seem to be intimidated by what they called the falling star, and the good became evil, and everything shifted from a very light, very influenced era of a lot of technology, a lot of peace, into an era of a lot of debauchery and a lot of fall. So we're finding out, this could be parts of the Bible that were translated into the fall of the angels, which could have been the Atlanteans falling from grace and attacking the Lemurians. And
we're here on Hawaii, and this is part of Lemuria. So it goes Easter Island, New Zealand, and Hawaii, and that is a triangle of Lemuria. And I do want to pop in about the pyramids, because I personally think that there's some type of electrical that they actually emanated energy. And I think it's really interesting that the movie, they always tell us what's happening in the movies. In Stargate, when they portaled to another place, they were in a pyramid on the other planet. So I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. And so we've had a lot of disclosure through media, because the media is basically controlled by the dark forces to a certain level, and they have to let us know what's happening in a way that says, okay, if you don't do anything about it or you think it's fake. So, that's how they kind of slip it by us. Star Wars was actually a documentary, and so was Star Trek. So all of these shows, Matrix, all of these shows are actually in like these ancient tablets and kind of recorded, and Steven Spielberg and all these guys were able to access these because of, their prestige and their education. And I suggest everyone go on their own deep dives and start to look up the Epic of Creation and the cuneiform tablets. It will really blow your mind. They talk about DNA modification. They talk about space travel and portals in these ancient tablets that are actually cryptid back before the flood 10,000 years ago, and they're in stone. And the scientists can actually trace the stone. Even if you altered it, they can trace it. So stone is really an interesting way, especially marble and limestone, because you can tell if it's been scratched, 10,000 years later, 5,000, 100 years later. So we have these very well preserved. If you just go and look, they show even a helicopter in the pyramids.
That's right, they do.
They show a hovercraft that looks like the one on Star Wars, the Jawa one, when they were flying, in there. They were going to Mos Eisley and that's that hovercraft that Spielberg used, that same design. And they show a jet and other looking spacecraft. So these are just like blatant for us to see, and it's been within our, you know, our ability to find this information out. So it's get our heads out of our like iPads and phones for a minute and just start to look into your ancient history, because you can find it through your iPads and phones too, right? But look into some real information right now, because you'll be delighted to find out that we are interplanetary, and this is an interplanetary space station, and it's been that way for a very long time. And it's not something to be necessarily afraid of, but it is something to be aware of, so that you do know how to test a malevolent and a benevolent force.
Yep.
And it's very easy, because malevolence is always dark and devious and all against you, and benevolence is always with love and trying to bring you up and teach you without going against your free will. So these are key components. I also want to say another thing about the spectrum of light. I'm one of those weird, rare people. I love the movie Paul. And if you get a chance, go watch the series. It's all of my intel in a funny way, so it's not scary. But it goes into some basics of very deep information that I think you guys will really enjoy. Now, Max on the movie has a UV light spectrum that's different than most humans. I'm the same way, and I will say this. I can see the ET within, if you are a hybrid or if you are entity possessed, I can just see this hover over the person and a shimmer in the face. And that's also what The Shining was about. You know, you have to start to look into some darker of the Hollywood scripts. They show that, you know, there is a darker force that has been maneuvering behind the scenes to infiltrate mankind.
Yeah.
And so if we can see this, it is exposed, and it can't keep doing it to us and tricking us, because this dark force can hide in a politician, in a judge, in a president. And it really does have that ability. So by us being aware of it, we could figure out tests to do to make sure that empathy is there, that if you're running, you know, if you're part of an alliance where you're part of a council, you're part of some kind of policy, that you actually have enough compassion and empathy in you that you are able to show us. Like, you know, these are things that we've seen in movies and such, like Running Man and these other ones with Harrison Ford, where he had to go hunt down the aliens, and they had to test them because they looked so human.
That's right, yeah.
And they
Blade
were
Runner.
cyborgs,
Yeah.
you know, and they were running, you know, things, but, you know, they had to figure out how to see the human inside to know we have to let this person go amongst the crowd. They could just kill anybody at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, you can believe this or not. It's up to you. We're not done yet. We got still a lot more to share. But I do invite you to do your own research on this. And I loved, I was watching, what was that one, Jupiter, is a movie,
Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending.
Yes, good one.
And
Very
she was like, the guy who like rescues her from being killed, and she's like, what? And she's like, I'm dreaming. And he goes, yeah, that's what they all say, that you're dreaming. He goes, but how arrogant is it for you to believe that you're the only ones in the entire galaxy?
Exactly.
You know?
And that would be so boring if humans were. I mean, think about it
that's true.
for just a second. Are we really that egoed out that we think we're the most intelligent on every planet, and we're the only ones who can fly to the moon? I mean, the moon, we didn't even fly to the moon. We were told to get off the moon. The moon was inhabited and is ringing like a bell when we tried to go and land on it. And
so yeah, they actually did a test where they actually, and you can actually look this up, you know, bomb on moon, or moon rings after bomb is put on the moon or something like that. The moon, they actually put a bomb on it, exploded a bomb on it, and it rang. The moon rang for a very, very long time. It did not stop. So the moon is hollow. There's something inside of it. And why is it that the moon is tethered to the earth? It doesn't spin.
And it's the same size as the sun, blocking it
that
completely
is
during a solar eclipse.
The odds of the moon being exactly able to eclipse
and it
the
doesn't
sun.
rotate.
It doesn't rotate. It totally is tethered. You can't see behind it. That there's so much there. There's so much there. And then who was it? There was one guy that recently, not too far long ago, was it Bud's? I can't remember his name right now. But they actually went behind the moon, and the astronaut said, there is a Santa Claus. That's what he said. He said, there is a Santa Claus. Why did he say that?
And what we were heard is like that they were told when they went to the moon, there was supposedly a 3-minute sect of the live vocal that was cut out by the government, and this unfortunately was cut out, but it was actually them freaking out because they were seeing something on one of the mountain clips of one of the indentations of the moon, where there had been an indentation. They were seeing vehicles aligning along it, and basically they were even saying they were getting threats from whatever was up there. And then when you look into the cuneiform tablets, they speak about when they were harvesting the gold off of Earth, Terra, Ea was working with Mars and the moon as a space station, because they actually do the gold. They actually harvest gold here to help Nibiru, because Nibiru, when it swipes close to our sun, it's usually the 12th planet, and it doesn't have as much impact, the sun, on our planet as it does on Nibiru's atmosphere. So when it does come into our solar system, it actually loses part of its atmosphere. They are also a little bit of a warlike planet, and they do have nuclear power, and they've used it because if you talk about the Anunnaki and you want to look into the Anunnaki, they are very evolved, and some sects are peaceful, but also some are very warlike. They've taught us how to be warlike. We didn't just come up with it. We've been kind of directed how to become warlike and how to be even prejudiced with each other, because they did come to the planet, in these records, and supposedly hybrid the human Mahalo, who was a species that was already here. So they did not create us, and I want to make that really clear from my research. We were already here as a species of a bipedal hominid that was peaceful and interacted with nature and could actually communicate with all forms of life.
That's
the
right.
Mahalo. And they came and they actually captured it. It talks about how they had to capture it, and it took them like 100,000 years to intermingle their DNA with the Namalos, so that they could create a subject that could help them mine the gold, because the sun, we're only the third planet from, and it doesn't affect us as much as it does them. They have very light skin. They're like what we would call the Elohim. Some of us, we would call them even the Elohim, or the golden ones, or the lighted ones, or the glowing ones. They have many names, and I want to be clear too, the Anunnaki have many different, it's like saying America. We have, the planet Nibiru is also a space station, or a way station for very many interstellar visitors. So we can't judge one on everybody's action. We have to understand that it's kind of like saying the planet Earth with a lot of different kinds of beings there. There's Lyrans, there's Palladians, there's Arcturians, there's reptilians, and whenever there's a reptilian species around, there's usually a gray and even a mantoid.
And why do they say that we have a reptilian brain? Is like our DNA was tampered with. They cannot see how it happened naturally. They actually see that these chromosomes fused together, and there's no way that could have happened naturally. And I've actually done videos on that. So
true. And also, we've been our length of our evolution has been cut down by our lifespan.
That's right. Our telomeres.
Our telomeres were cut by the Anunnaki in order to control us
That's
better.
Right.
To live 120 years, sound familiar? And then in pain we birth after that. We didn't birth in pain before. There was something to. When the Anunnaki came, they changed our way of being. And some sects of the Anunnaki, I will say, are very benevolent and wanted the better good for us. They went against their actual higher-ups, the Anunnaki kings. And one of the princes with his sister, Enki Ea, and his sister Nimma, gave back the ME, which was considered how you connect with your higher self or your spirit, and you have the ability to evolve past just a physical form and eventually go, what we say, to heaven or ascend. And that is just the ability to be have your DNA recycle itself and be able to have it rejuvenate. And we have that ability. It's just been cut and modified so that it has an unlocking period in it.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out how our consciousness works so that we can unlock that in ourselves now, but we have the ability still.
And I want to pop in here too, because Blossom Inner Wellness, you guys, is my website, blossominnerwellness.com. You can go on there and you can check out, I'm doing a Decoding the Bible, and I've done the first 2 chapters of Decoding the Bible, which will really blow your mind. Might piss you off if you're a Christian, but that's just the way it is. And then also I'm doing an Inner Shift program right now, where it does teach you about your frequency and understanding how your brain works, and the frequency field of that our emotions actually connect to something greater that is outside of us. But we have been so programmed with fear, hatred, anger, confusion, that it keeps us really from that connection of source and really manifesting this world the way we want it. But I truly believe that we can create a better world, and we are doing it by shows like this, videos like this. Please like, subscribe, and share, and getting it out there and letting people know. There's been something. It's like I was watching the movie The Giver the other night, and this one girl, they were always injected with something that would not let them feel their emotions, because our emotions are from our heart are connected to a field. And so when she stopped taking this injection, she started feeling, and she literally said, something has been taken from us. Something magical that feels warm and nice has been literally taken from us. And so this is a time of awakening. So I love this. And you want to share more about
Maria Orsic?
Maria Orsic. Check this out, you guys, and look her up, Maria Orsic, online. This is what she looked like. She was in the military, right?
Yeah. She was
What's her
actually
story?
helping one of our highest up generals in our American military to create many of our shuttles and spacecrafts. And even though she was said to be his secretary, Maria Orsic, she was actually the one giving him all the intel, and then he was telling all of the government how to create these amazing hovercraft and vehicles. And these are the same
And
hovercraft.
you remember Wonder Woman, you guys? Remember Wonder Woman?
Yes. So Wonder Woman, we think, is based off of Maria Orsic, and she was part of the Vril Society. She was believed to be part of genetics and also part of a consciousness that was in communication with the Aldebarans. The Aldebarans is a solar system near Sirius B, and it's a star system that's the closest one to us right now. So this could be one of our sister civilizations that's communicating with us, and they are very human. This is something that is, not all species that are benevolent look human, but most do have some resemblance, and some don't. So you don't want to judge by the book, by its cover, right? But she is very beautiful. Their hair in the Vril Society, she had 7 other women that worked with her, and they would get into a deep state of consciousness, and then maybe what we would say maybe is channeling now, but more like telepathy, where you're not having something go into your body and take you over, you're having something speak through you like you are a receiver. So she was channeling or having telepathy with the Aldebarans, which were telling her that they were a peaceful civilization that had been intermingling with our civilization, and part of the original Mahalo DNA makeup, which is 21 different ET species that are benevolent, and they had been working on this being for a very long time, and it had gotten hijacked by the Anunnaki when they came, and then they hybrid that being. But the being that she's speaking of, they're still here in their forms. They actually are what we would call the Agarthians now, the inner earthers. And we can go even in a little deeper dive later about World War II and how they were, they and another sect of a darker species, which we would maybe refer to as the reptilians, part of the Anunnaki, or what we would say would be the seraphim in the Bible. These species are snake, reptilian-like species, and they're the Naga. They have been underground for a long time, and some are actually benevolent, but there are a bit that do actually prey on humans. So we do need to find out a little more about the information, and if you do want to go on your own deep dives, you can go into looking under each of the Vatican, different churches. The Catholic churches specifically all have tunnels, and these tunnels are decorated with what is hundreds of thousands of skulls and things from people. They're human skulls, and they're just decorated in this strange fashion. So we could do a deeper dive, but it is a hard subject to talk about. But it is really relevant right now because we're starting to see a lot of the things that are happening with people getting they're being shown the truth about what has been going on with the child trafficking and the disappearances that are going on, even on our islands.
We have tunnels here too. In
Yes.
fact, somebody in the legislative body, when I was meeting with them, they actually told me that they were shown how the tunnels are made, and so we do have tunnels here in the islands as well.
Usually connected to the military bases.
That's right, the Poliaku, which is right near Mauna Kea, and so interesting.
And the military base in Maui. And many children disappeared during the fire of Maui, and we've not seen where they've actually come up. There's no schools reporting these 2,000 kids.
I actually contacted the Hawaii Education Department and asked them 2 years later if any schools had requested the academic records for the 2025 children that did not re-enroll in any school on Maui. And I've emailed them twice. They have not returned my email. And now I'm going to call them up and then also do there's another form that I can do, a Freedom of Information Act.
I wanted to commend you. You're very brave, and these are the people that are making the big differences. If you want to look at Sean Atwood's doing an interview on a very significant person right now who is in control of the councils that are taking these people to the courts. And these are Vatican people, these are judges, these are politicians, these are very high up people that are about to be put into a martial court that is not the same as a normal court. They will be judged for their actions, and there's a lot of evidence against them, and they have been doing this to children for a very long time, and you know, they are going to be held accountable, and we're going to be able to see it happen and unfold. But we have to also understand that we're also on the ground, like Michelle and I, we take a lot of heat, but it's all those people behind the scenes holding the politicians accountable, holding people accountable. If they're saying one thing, you have to be able to stand up for your people and not take money or bribes behind the scene. This is a fight for the, you know, good versus evil right now, and we're a part of it here on the ground as humans, Terrans. And we should be proud to be that, you know, because we've been kind of hoodwinked, and we think that the world is just this like very third dimensional world that's very straightforward. No, the reason you're struggling is because it's designed to make you struggle.
That's right.
The reason you can't get fairness in courts is because all of the courts are designed to not give you fairness and not show you your rights.
Unless you understand what your unalienable rights are outside of that criminal justice system. Why is it called criminal justice? Isn't that interesting? Justice for the criminals? Is that a coincidence? Is that by mistake? That is on purpose, you guys. So I am going to be doing a program with Matt Dankin to teach you guys how, or to teach you how to show you how we actually have removed ourselves from the system. There's recently a woman named Yvonne in Ireland who literally went to court, and the judge knew what she was doing, and she said, "I'm here by special appearance." Yvonne, I can't remember her last name right now. I am not that all caps name. Anyway, really great story. I'm trying to get her an interview with her, and the whole thing got dismissed. The whole case got dismissed, and the judge actually came down off the bench and gave her a hug. Because the judge knew what she was doing, and she honored the fact that what she was doing was right. So there are people here in higher places in the legislative body that are on our side. We do have them here on Big Island, and I just want to do a quick shout out. Please join. If you're on the islands, standtogetherhawaii.com, because I am doing an affidavit that is going to go to the governor, as well as all of his higher ups, the state representatives, as well as generals, that and asking why can this governor, a Hawaii governor, sign 9 emergency proclamations based on administrative issues. No emergency. Nobody's house is getting destroyed because we don't have enough school bus drivers. Yes, school bus drivers is an emergency proclamation now. He has suspended 32 laws, all without checks and balances, all without the legislative body, all without people testimony. This man is a dictator, and we need to hold him accountable. So you guys, please join standtogetherhawaii.com, because I am going to give out an action to help me help us get hold this man accountable.